Call the meeting in order of the Wilmington City Council. I'd like to welcome all those who are with us this evening and all those who are watching us at home. Thank you for taking an interest in your government. At this time, I'd like to call and introduce Captain John Michael James of the Wilmington Fire Department and to please come forward to give our invocation and ask that everyone remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance. Captain, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Let's bow our heads in reverence. Heavenly Father, I ask that you be with us today as we continue the journey of building a better community. We pray over everyone gathered here today. Grant them wisdom that is fair, courage that is steady, and hearts that seek the good of every neighbor. Unite us as one city, working together in strength and compassion. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two presentations this evening. Our first presentation is, I'd like to recognize the Leadership Wilmington class of 2026. They've gone through, I believe, 10 weeks of, 10 months, I'm sorry, 10 months. I used to do that in school. But it's great to have them here. I know that they've had a very in-depth review of our community and the different layers of government and commerce and business and everything that makes our community what it is today. And so I'd like to recognize them and bring them to the front. I'd like to also ask the entire Wilmington City Council to join me up there. Thank you.
Three rows, please. 3 rows, please.
Well, first, I'd like to just say, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you because you've taken time out of your lives and your busy schedules and your family life to learn more about your community and your governments. As I say in the beginning of every meeting, thank you for taking an interest in your government and understanding the different aspects of government, how we interact with business in this community and what all the great things that happen in this community, now they all woven together. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to make yourselves better informed citizens, and we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. City of Wilmington, North Carolina recognition reads, whereas the objective of Leadership Wilmington is to educate, challenge, and motivate citizens and to develop future leaders to work for the betterment of our community, and whereas the program consists of 10 sessions to promote leadership skills, community issues and challenges, regional, social, and economic change, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and whereas the members of the Leadership Wilmington work together and individually to plan and execute a day of service for schools and nonprofits, which is also known as Work on Wilmington, which I believe is happening this weekend, right? Next weekend. Getting on my dates here. Whereas Leadership Wilmington is committed to providing a continuous, diverse supply of creative leaders to the community by developing their knowledge of the region and providing them the opportunity for meaningful action. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Wilmington City Council does hereby recognize the Leadership Wilmington class of 2026 and the Greater Wilmington Chamber of Commerce Education Foundation for their commitment and dedication for contributing to quality of life of Wilmington and surrounding areas. So congratulations. I know you have a spokesperson here. There we go.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I wanted to say thank you for the city and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. I know it's Laura's 5th year of doing this. Where are you, Laura? So she's been named 40 under 40, and now I know why. She's incredible. And it's also the 20th year of work on Wilmington, so we're also saying it's the best year yet. We've raised over $100,000, 800 volunteers, and 34 projects. So we're excited to meet at Live Oak next Friday with Mayor Sappho, 5 to 7. Come join us if you have volunteered, and we will get to work on Saturday morning. So thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you. I'm gonna give you the, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Any more pictures right here? Get in front of Dylan. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Kevin, stay here. Select. I'm sorry. Our next proclamation is proclamation naming April 9th, 2026 as Local News Day, and I'd like to welcome Miss Frances Weller. Where's Frances? There you go. Come on up, Frances. Here comes the news team. Good to see you, Frances. Good to see you. Come on. Hello, everybody. Hello, good to see you too. Hello, how are you? Randy, good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. We'll just come on, everybody. Move over this way. Everybody kind of all mixed in here together. I think this is the first time we've ever done this. And I think it's a great opportunity to share with the community that these are the folks that keep us all honest and make certain that we're doing our job. And if we're not doing our job, you will usually get a call from one of you to tell us, why aren't you doing your job and where are you? But they are the people that inform our communities as to everything that is going on in our communities. And it's very important. And I've always said that you are the fourth rail of government, and it's an important rail of government, which is our media that does an outstanding job, not only here locally, but throughout our country. And I just want to say thank you for all the hard work that you folks put in. I know sometimes we frustrate you, but we try to do a good job working together. So I'm going to read this proclamation on behalf of the city. City of Wilmington, North Carolina proclamation reads, whereas Local News Day is a national day of action to celebrate and strengthen trusted local news and information. Modeled after movements like Giving Tuesday, it inspires millions of people to reconnect with their local outlets through subscription, support, and engagement. And whereas Americans overwhelmingly say local news is essential to democracy and to their daily lives, yet many communities struggle to access the in-depth, accountable coverage that they all deserve. Local News Day helps bridge that gap, reconnecting people with their trusted sources that keep them informed and strengthen their communities. And whereas the City of Wilmington values the contribution that our local news outlets provide to our residents, to the City of Wilmington, and to our entire community, and whereas the City of Wilmington commits to continuing to strengthen the relationships between the city and all of the local news outlets that do the vital work of serving our region. Now, therefore, I, Bill Sappho, on behalf of the Wilmington City Council, do hereby declare April the 9th, 2026, as Local News Day in the City of Wilmington, and say thank you very much to all of the hard work that you folks do. So this, Frances? I know you're going to say it anyway.
I'm not prepared to speak, but I've never met a microphone that I don't like. And so thank you, Mayor Sappho, and thank you, council members, for this recognition. Local News Day is not just a local effort, it is a national effort. And April 9th, local news across the country will be recognized. We certainly appreciate this recognition. We, as journalists, have an obligation and a responsibility every day to report the news. It's not always easy because the news is not always good, but it is our responsibility And we have taken the task of reporting daily local news. And so this recognition is an honor for all of us who are standing here today representing local media. I do want to mention that April 9th will be Local News Day across the country. And here in Wilmington, North Carolina, we will have News Cafe at WHQR Studios. And it's open to the public from 8 until 10? 8:30 to 10:30, again at the WHQR Studios. And you have a chance to come by and talk to the local journalist and ask questions. We will probably have a little swag to give away. It's a day of celebration for what we do on a daily basis. And it is an honor for me personally to be here representing WECT and my fellow journalists and all of my other fellow journalists here. Mayor Sappho and council members, this is truly an honor, and for someone who has been doing this for longer than many of you in the room have been alive, and that's the truth, 43 years going on 44, this is truly an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Let's take a picture right here. Hold on to this. Everybody scrunch in together a little bit. Our next item of business is our consent agenda, items 1 through 8. Are there any items that any council member would like to hear separately? If not, what are the wishes of council in respect to the consent agenda? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Lau, second by Councilmember Clinton Quintana. And all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our public information segment. We have 4 speakers that have signed up to speak with us this evening. Our first speaker is Ms. Sue Bullock, who is a city resident and wants to give us an update on request of action on public project Military Cutoff / Eastwood Road overpass. Ms. Bullock?
Mayor, councilmen, women, thank you for your service. And I feel really old at this microphone because I was here and at WECT in the first week that Frances took her job. And Mayor, you and I go back a long ways as well. I'm here on behalf of the citizens around the Eastwood Corridor and Wrightsville Beach Chamber of Commerce. I have a prepared statement for the record. This is about our follow-up on U5710, the proposed overpass hardscape that would go over the top of Military Cutoff, but was now scheduled for the same time frame as the repair for the 3 bridges. The problem with the scheduling is that it will collapse businesses from Military Cutoff to the ocean side as a 4 to 6 year kind of schedule. The scheduling is a major problem, as well as the hardscape overpass, which now could be controlled by smart technology, which you and your engineers have been exploring. We are asking you as a council to go back to your resolution and the resolution that Wrightsville Beach passed a year ago when I was here that called on DOT the WMPO, which is another federally funded project, to look at this project, amend their schedule, go back and ask for the governor, Daniel Johnson, the Secretary of Transportation, and those involved, Tony Lathrop at the board, to relook at this. This is a project that is scheduled with an $80 million price tag, now $100 million. $30 million of it has already been expended on the Drysdale alternative. With signals, new signal lighting, new smart lighting, it is suggested by our engineers, and in fact yours, that that intersection could remain on grade, have 2 lanes added to the north-south, and function fine. We ask for your help in this. Our request to NCDOT and WMPO went unheard. They presented a one-way presentation. They are in violation of the NEPA and federal public hearing requests, and we ask that you join with us in addressing them again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bullock. Appreciate it.
And I've got a copy for Penny here.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Genesis Espinoza, who is a non-city resident seeking clarification on the murder of Alberto Espinoza Sierra.
Good evening. I hope everyone had a good Easter. I'm here today to seek clarification on my brother's death and his investigation. My brother was murdered on March 8th by the WPD and Sheriff's Department at 3 a.m. We were never informed of his death until 10 a.m. that morning. When my little sister called me frantic, I went downtown to investigate. That's when I found a trail of cops. She called me because there was rumors of a fatality in downtown. Once I started asking around, the cops directed me to the officer in charge of the case. He then informed me my brother was dead while I was on the phone with my mother and little sister. I hung up and cried. Once I was somewhat composed, the officer asked me about my brother's home life. My brother, Edalberto, was nicknamed Betito. He worked at American Skin, went to the gym, and would come home very tired. He lived a simple but joyful life for a 21-year-old. And like many 21-year-olds, he would go out to party with his friends on weekends. However, my brother was not a dangerous man. He was a son, a brother, a cousin, a nephew. He was family. He would tell my mother he loved her and he loved all of us, a very admirable attribute for a 21-year-old man in today's day and age. So when I asked the officer if he knew how my brother had died, he told me he couldn't say because it was an ongoing investigation. I simply thought it must have been a civilian that murdered him. However, once I arrived home and searched the WPD's public Facebook account, I found the full story. Before I left, I had asked the officer if my parents could come and speak to them. The officer responded with, "Emotions are high, and I wouldn't want anybody to get arrested," a comment I found very demeaning and inhumane. According to the North Carolina General Assembly in Article 35, where it talks about accident, trauma, and victim identification, it states, "A state or local law enforcement officer shall make a reasonable effort to notify the next of kin of an accident trauma victim if the individual is hospitalized or dead. Whenever possible, the notification should be delivered in person and without delay after ensuring positive identification." I was only able to identify my brother from his ID as the officer would not allow me to see him. But he was identified and had been identified for some time since they had his ID information. And regardless if he had informed me of his death, I believe my parents were entitled to be told in person by someone other than their mourning 18-year-old daughter. And they very much wanted to come and see and speak to that officer. So after I arrived home, my dad went to the same location with my aunt and uncle to identify his bodies, which they couldn't. They were told at first that they could, and then that they couldn't, and then that they were never told. We did not get to see my brother's body till March 18th, which we awaited anxiously, hoping that this was some sort of mistake, hoping that he would come home, but his room remained empty. Sadly, the only thing that filled his room was my mother. As she cried and cried, she would ask me, why my son? Why shoot to kill him, not at his tires? Sorry. All right. To this day, these questions go unanswered, and we have yet to receive a formal apology from the WPD or the Sheriff's Department. But I did get to see my brother again. He was still very handsome and had pretty curly hair, yet I would never want to see him in that state he was left, because a part of me was hoping to see him alive. And that privilege has been robbed from me, my mother, my brother, my father, and my sister. And this is something I want no other family to go through. I never want another daughter to have to look at their mother mourn this kind of tragedy and not be able to provide her the comfort she so desperately needs. Because at the end of the day, I cannot even provide that comfort to myself. According to Mapping Police Violence, 5 people have been killed in the hands of police this year in North Carolina. 3 of these victims are labeled as armed and either agitated or aggressive. 1 was unarmed and being arrested on a warrant. My brother was unarmed, not described as agitated or aggressive, was not being detained for a crime he had committed, and was bleeding from his head before he even got into his vehicle. So I ask you today, Council, what will you do to stop this violence? What changes will be implemented to ensure this injustice does not happen again in the hands of the police? And how will my family be kept up with this investigation if no officer has made the reasonable effort to inform us of anything? All the information or updates we have gotten have been from us making contact, not them. I ask for these officers' names to be released and for them to be fired. And finally, I ask for the body cam footage to be released. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Next speaker is Ms. Madison Morrison, who's a city resident, talks about city safety in the community.
Connor Mahoney was 15 years old when he was struck and killed by a drunk driver, Ethan Blackburn, a son of a successful business owner last year. Blackburn's sentence was 3 years probation, 1 week in jail, each anniversary of the death. He left Connor's body in the street for someone else to find. Connor's parents said this clearly was not justice. Earlier this year, while high, Jason Summers, a local business owner, attacked a young girl in broad daylight, forcing her to the ground. He was only stopped because her father and a bystander intervened. In his plea deal, he received no jail time, 48 months probation, and charges dropped like second-degree kidnapping and assault on a child. Michael Trey committed violent sexual assaults, stalking, and other assaults in our city for years before he was stopped. Dozens of charges were filed in 2024, 2025, and 2026, yet the assaults continue to take place. He had already had an extensive history of serious offenses in other states before he came here. The Espinosa Sierra family has been asked for patience and to wait for the New Hanover County DA's findings. How can this council suggest patience while the judicial system fails the citizens every day? I have spent my time documenting with people online different rapes, assaults, victimizations, trafficking, going back decades. So when this council says crime is down, we have to ask, is it actually down or is it underreported? I hear from victims, especially women, who say their cases are mishandled, minimized, and rushed aside, and yet this council asks for patience. So you want us to stop the violence, or is it just the violence that makes the city look bad? Is it the violence that is forcing people the accountability? Is it the violence that you can't ignore? You celebrate projects and progress, and yet when it comes to serious public concerns, it seems like there's hesitation and no leadership.
Next speaker is Max Hammer and B. Lanier, who are city residents, talking about North Carolina Tobacco 21 Coalition.
Good evening, all, and thank you, Mayor Sappho and council members, for having us. My name is Max Hammer.
And my name is B. Lanier. We are both high school students at Cape Fear Academy and proud members of the North Carolina Tobacco 21 Youth Council.
The NC Tobacco 21 Coalition is an organization working to protect NC youth from the harms of vaping and the nicotine addiction that inevitably comes with it. Through the passage of Solly's Law and NC General Assembly, a worrying statistic in North Carolina is the high school vaping rate is more than triple the national average. The effects of this can be seen here in Wilmington, especially with a multitude of vape shops popping up across the city and many local high schools where students consider vaping increasingly normalized among students. Unfortunately, there are no current state laws that protect the youth from targeted advertisements and underage selling, and youths often get more penalties than the stores that sell to them. In fact, North Carolina is one of only 6 states that allows sales to 18-year-olds. Solly's Law aims to combat the youth vaping crisis by raising the state purchasing age to 21.
We hope to relay a call to action that will protect kids like us from the dangers of vape and other nicotine products and will lead to the passage of Solly's Law, an extremely relevant example of the endangerment and strife that youth vaping can cause is shown by the story of New Hanover High School student Solomon Wynn, for whom Solly's Law is named. Solly was a great student and athlete and should have graduated from New Hanover High School this May. Like many teens, he became almost immediately addicted after one vape usage and in a devastating turn of events, passed away at age 15. I just turned 16. From vaping related to lung complications. Most people fail to realize that vapes often have the nicotine levels of 40 to 90 cigarettes and are made of synthetic material made in overseas labs that can cause unprecedented harms to users, especially children.
We sincerely hope that we can gain your support to ensure the safety of North Carolina youth and that you all consider looking into this further, especially given that the origins of Solly's Law are in this very city at a high school where I can imagine many of you send your own children.
The best way to support the NC T21 bill is to encourage our district senators and representatives to vote in the affirmation of Solly's Law this upcoming legislative session. Thank you so much for your time and attention to this matter, and please let us know if you would like more information or additional ways to support the NC Tobacco 21 Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Joy North, who is a city resident, renaming Greenfield Grind Skate Park. North?
Hi, how are you doing tonight?
Good.
Thank you for considering our request to rename the Greenfield Grind Skate Park to the Alec Chambers Skate Park. Alec's roots are at Greenfield. Sometimes he skated open to close. Alec started skating when he was 10 years old, reaching the rank of professional skateboarder. During his childhood, I would watch him for hours trying to perfect a trick. His passion for skateboarding was second only to his love for his family and his dear friends, many of which are here tonight in support of Alec. Alec is considered the de facto mayor of Greenfield. Alec made you feel special, whether you were a lifelong friend or a stranger. He treated everyone with kindness and love. Alec was never afraid to say, "I love you." As the time has passed since his tragic death, I have discovered so much more about my son. He loved with his whole heart. I have watched him help young skaters learn how to drop in. I have listened to several customers from the satellite tell me how they love Alec like a son or a brother. Once the skate park is renamed in Alec's honor, we want to clean up the park. We want to assist in maintaining the park so younger riders will be able to enjoy the park. We hope that more experienced riders will show new riders support, respect, and help them learn how to skate. Several of Alec's closest friends enjoy the park, and some even bring their children. Alec was a mentor to several of these kids. Tonight in attendance is Maggie Grimes of Filmworks Incorporated. Filmworks was Alec's employer at the time of his death. Maggie is here to represent Filmworks, and Filmworks has graciously offered to donate toward the signage costs in renaming the Alec Chambers Skate Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our next item of business, which is our public hearings. Item PH1 is an ordinance amending the official zoning maps of the city of Wilmington to rezone property located at 910 South 8th Street from R5 Medium Density Mixed Residential District to UMX Urban Mixed Use District. I will also note that whoever makes this motion must read a consistency statement for the record. So at this time, I'd like to recognize the city manager, Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Todd Rademacher, one of our planners.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Tonight's agenda item is general rezoning from R5 to UMX, located at 910 South 8th Street. Just a quick little overview of the review process that has been taking place for this application. It's a 0.125 acres size tract of land, or 5,445 square feet. And like I said, the applicant is requesting to rezone from R5 to UMX. They applied in January of this year. March 4th, the Planning Commission had their hearing. And then here we are tonight on April 7th to have the council hearing and discussion. Here's some area context. Excuse me, a little extra information on the two rezoning sites, zoning districts, I apologize. Currently, it's R5, medium density residential, allowing 8 units per acre. In contrast, and a 35-foot height limit. In contrast to the proposed UMX rezoning district, or urban mixed use, which allows several different options for residential development or vertically integrated mixed use. 15 units to the acre, 25 units to the acre in a single building, and then unlimited number of units as long as it's got some commercial space within the structure. And then some context about the site. Here is a map showing the general vicinity of the surrounding area. You can see some of the parks in the area, the Burger King when you first come into the city, some other local landmarks that you can get an idea of the location we're in. Existing land use and zoning. Like I said, the site is zoned R5 with UMX bordering the property to the north, east, and west. And then there is additional R5 zoning located to the south. The subject property, here are some photos of the existing single-family home that's on the site, looking across 8th Street, and then a view of the rear yard, where you can see some of the other adjacent single-family homes and some of the construction that is taking place in the area. Here's a more specific drill down on the surrounding properties. To the north, you can see the new construction that's taking place, and this is a multi-use building that we'll get into in just a second. To the east, there's townhomes across 8th Street. To the west, we have single-family dwelling units, and then vacant property again to the south. Here's that adjacent property I was speaking of. This is the 906 lofts that were approved on September 8th of 2023 that are currently under construction. This is an 18 dwelling unit structure with an additional 215 square feet of commercial space. And you can see that green outline on the map. That is the location of the 910 A Street property that we're here tonight discussing. In consistency with the adopted plans, the growth strategy map is identifying this area as a place within a neighborhood scale infill development area of opportunity, and as well as in the location of an urban neighborhood node mixed-use center. Policy analysis. Growth should be accommodated through mixed-use sites and encouraged around existing transit lines. The area is well-suited for infill development and redevelopment. Transit-oriented development should be encouraged around transit lines. And I will note that there are numerous stops in that immediate area in regard to wave transit stops. And we did have a little bit of community input on this. There were no comments submitted in support, and we did receive one comment in opposition to the application expressing concerns with the loss of the single-family home and the associated home ownership opportunity in the immediate area. In summary, the recommendation is to approve this. And like I said, the planning board did recommend approval. UMX zoning exists to the north, east, and west of the subject property. The site is located within a neighborhood scale infill development area of opportunity. The site is located roughly within 50 feet of a wave route and bus stop where high density mixed use development patterns are encouraged. And the comprehensive plan encourages that growth be accommodated in mixed use neighborhoods. The staff and planning board did find that the request is reasonable in public interest and that the request is consistent with the relevant policies in the create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan, and you can see that it did receive a unanimous recommendation for approval. If you have any questions, that concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions for our staff? Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
This time I'd like to recognize the applicant.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name's Cindy Wolf, and I'm here on behalf of the owner of the property. I appreciate Todd's synopsis of it all, and I won't belabor much of it. As he pointed out, this is an R5 lot that is beside a UMX project. This is a straight rezoning, but for context, the reason for the rezoning is the combination of this lot with the adjacent lot where there is a mixed use with 18 units underway. It's under construction right now. The purpose of this will be a better, I believe, success for the project itself with a little more parking, a little more space for everything. So we are losing the one home, but we're providing 17 more. Just again, for context, this is the building that's being constructed right now. So with that, we appreciate both the staff and Planning Commission's positive recommendations. We certainly believe that it is reasonable and consistent for the variety of reasons that staff pointed out, and I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Do we have any questions of the applicant, Ms. Wolf?
Thank you very much.
Well, we have a question here.
I'm sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So are these, you said 18 rentals or 18?
It would be 18 rentals, yes.
18 rentals.
There's a commercial portion in the building and then 18 apartments.
You know my next question. Is it affordable? No.
Based on the location, I mean, it's hard to say. It will be market rate. It
Well,
is not
yeah.
specifically earmarked for anything in particular.
Cindy, you just made a good point based on the location, right? So based on the location, we would expect affordable housing there when we lose a home, which I'm certain was affordable for someone at some point. And I was just looking, I couldn't see who the owner is or when ownership changed hands. But now we lose one affordable home for 18 market rate apartments.
But that's not to say that those apartments won't be affordable
I
in
just
that
a-
neighborhood.
I just asked you. You said you stuttered a little. So that makes me think no. And I mean, this is an issue that we have. I mean, I'm certain this will pass, but I mean, we have to ask the question. Well, maybe we don't have to ask the question, but I do, and I want to know. So I believe that it's good for the public to understand what's taking place as we watch our neighborhoods just change and affordability changes. And you know, we're in the middle of the budget season, right? And we're talking about area median incomes and things of that nature. And so we understand that the numbers being skewed, right? And so
Not necessarily, because there can be 18 units in this building, it makes the development of it more affordable for the rates that will be charged. I mean, that's about all I can say.
Well, yeah, I
In an
understand.
apartment
I understand.
situation,
The question's been asked. I asked and answered, and I just wanted to give you a fair opportunity to answer it. So thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
I have a question while Ms. Wolf is still up here. Just to clarify, because you're giving a lot of detail that we don't usually hear about in straight rezonings and general rezonings, what you're talking about is the maximum of potential of that site, right? Not the intended, when you were answering Mayor Pro Tem's questions?
Right, I guess what I'm saying is that the project underway is in a UMX.
The one on
It
the
is a
corner?
on the corner.
Okay, you're talking about the
It's a permitted
subject one.
use. It does have something to do in context with that, the petition tonight for the rezoning certainly has something to do with it because it will become part of the project. But no, it is a conventional rezoning of a lot that has a house that is in poor repair. We didn't want to take the house down until we knew that it was possible to include it into the project.
Okay, so the 18 units that you were asked about were the ones that are already under construction, not the ones that are possible on this site?
That's correct. There really isn't anything possible
That's what I
on
thought.
this site other than pretty much a home and an accessory dwelling.
Okay.
It's only 33 feet wide. It is the depth of the other lot, but it will be included into that lot as part open space and part additional vehicular parking.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jordan. Jordan?
Thank you. So help me understand why this wasn't brought forward prior to groundbreaking on the 18 units. If it's all conceived as one project, I understand that the lots themselves are now going to be combined under your proposal. So why wasn't it all brought forward at once? Why are we sort of doing this piecemeal?
They didn't own it. There wasn't anything to bring forward the first time around. It was zoned UMX back in 2013, so the project was underway. It is a standalone, self-sufficient project and met all of the criteria. The parcel adjacent to it, because the house had been in poor repair, came up for purchase. And so my clients purchased it to add into their project for better success of it.
But the original project could be completed as originally submitted to
Absolutely.
the city without this?
Yes,
Without
that
what
is
you're asking us
correct.
to do tonight? Thank you, that's the clarification I needed.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So you're gonna clear the house for parking, right? The 18 units are gonna be beside it, and so we're gonna lose the home for parking.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Kim?
Just confirming, that house was vacant
Yes, it has
and
been
beyond repair,
for quite a while.
and the person who owned it sold it
To
to
my
you all?
client, to the folks
To
who
your
own the
client.
project, yes.
Okay, thank you. How long ago was that?
It was, I think, initially sold sometime last year to someone that basically flipped it to us. So,
So there's been two owners?
yes. Well, the current owner, there was one in between, the original homeowner,
Right, so technically.
that I believe was heirs. The owner had passed, and so it was in the heirs.
So the heir sold it.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilmember Santaguido.
You just said that the house was flipped. Is the house habitable now?
No, not flipped like that. I'm just saying the property itself. Somebody bought it, didn't do anything with it, they just put it back on the market.
Okay, so the home has been vacant for
Yes.
some period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask if anybody in the public wishes to speak. Madam Clerk, have you received any additional comments?
No, sir, I have not.
Are there any further comments, questions from council? I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council in respect to the item.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the tablet says motion to approve. I have a substitute motion to reject as not consistent and not reasonable.
You have a motion to deny?
Yes, sir.
A motion
Second.
made- Motion
Or a
made
second,
by,
Councilmember Joyner's motion.
we have a motion by Councilmember Joyner,
Second.
second by Councilmember Santaguido. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Mayor, we still need the consistency statement.
You have to read the.
Since we're not approving, doesn't look we need one, do we?
Yes, sir. It'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
the
we do.
yellow
I'm sorry, you
section.
have to read the consistency statement, Mr. Joyner, I'm sorry.
I move to reject the proposed amendment to rezone property located at 910 South 8th Street from R5 Medium Density Mixed Residential District to UMX Urban Mixed Use, and find it to be inconsistent with the relevant policies in the comprehensive plan based on the application materials and the information provided at the public hearing and in the staff report as attached or described below, and rejection is appropriate at the rezoning request, as the rezoning request is not reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The proposed rezoning is not consistent with the desired development pattern of the surrounding area.
All in favor of Mr. Joyner's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
And I'll say nay too. Okay. Passes 4-2. Okay. That brings 5-2, I'm sorry. Some reason, I'm sorry, guys, but this voting, can't vote on this machine here.
The machine's not working.
Yeah, 5-2. Okay. Brings us to our next item, which is item PH2, which is an ordinance amending the official zoning maps of the city of Wilmington to rezone property located at 4118 Market Street from RB Regional Business to MD 17 CD High Density Multi-Dwelling Residential Conditional District for a 76-unit multi-dwelling development. This time I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be handled by Patrick O'Mahony, our senior planner.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. As mentioned, this is a conditional rezoning request for 4118 Market Street from RB Regional Business to MD 17 CD for the conversion of an existing hotel use into 76 permanent residential dwelling units. As you can see on your screen, this is the review process taken so far by this project. As you'll notice, there were 2 separate Board of Adjustment hearings mixed in this review process before it got here to you tonight for a decision. I'll speak more on those variances in a moment. This is a slide outlining the existing zoning, the RB Regional Business, and the High-Density Multi-Dwelling Residential District, the MD 17 CD District. Since this is a conditional rezoning, we are only taking into account the conversion of the existing motel into the 76 residential units tonight, which also include a provision for 20 workforce housing units. So to give a little site context, here's the general vicinity surrounding the request on Market Street. The site, as mentioned, is currently zoned RB Regional Business. It is surrounded by RB zoning with O&I zoning to the north across Market Street. Here's some photos of existing conditions with a view of the site from Market Street. Again, that is the existing Studio 6 hotel. There are no changes to the building or to the elevations being proposed as part of this request today, just the conversion from a motel to a primary dwelling units. Here's some more photos of the subject properties. Here are some photos of adjacent land uses. They're primarily commercial in nature, a restaurant, a car rental agency, and more commercial uses. This slide shows the proximity to services. There is a transit stop in close proximity to the site. Additionally, there's a grocery store less than a half a mile up Market Street, the Food Line. Beaumont Park is located just under a mile further to the west along Market Street and down Wayne Drive. So through this rezoning process, there have been some considerations in regard to design, specifically density. Here in this table, it shows the permissible density under the current zoning, the permitted density with a workforce housing component. Within the Land Development Code, there's a provision that if 10% of the units are provided as workforce housing, a density may be increased to 36 units an acre. The applicant went to the Board of Adjustment to receive a variance from those density requirements to increase the density of the site to 60 dwelling units an acre, which nets out to 20 units for workforce housing. And this slide outlines just the basic HUD income limits for 80% of AMI, which is what the code references for the workforce housing component. So, for example, a household of a single person would pay a rent of $1,083 for an efficiency apartment. And I will mention that the workforce housing, the 20 units that are being proposed by the applicant, will be designated for a period of 15 years. Open space is another consideration that was given for this application, which also went before the Board of Adjustment. The applicant is required, based on code, for providing 20% of the lot area to be dedicated as usable open space. The applicant is actually providing 5.9%, which is approximately 3,233 square feet. Much of this usable area is located in the front of the site along the Market Street frontage, which is a former drive aisle that they're going to convert into a green space, as you can see on the picture on the bottom right. So the Land Development Code contemplates adaptive reuse of buildings, a conversion of buildings that we're talking about today, and changes of use. And typically for commercial uses to other commercial uses, there are minimal site upgrades required. However, when converting a site to a residential use, additional requirements are put in place to ensure that residential uses are held to a higher standard, to ensure that permanent residents are afforded the same amenities, open spaces, and places to recreate, since this is their permanent means of residence. The code also holds workforce housing projects to the same open space standards as market rate housing. There is no difference within the Land Development Code. And the third design consideration that I wanted to address tonight was the parking. The applicant is proposing 68 parking spaces for 76 units, so less than one space per unit. A variance to these parking requirements was not identified originally when this application came in. On the left side of your screen, you'll see the table that was provided to staff indicating workforce housing units as 76 with half a space per unit, which would be their allowable amount of 38 spaces total. However, during the Board of Adjustment hearing in October, there was clarification on the total number of workforce housing units provided based on the code's definition, which would only be 20 workforce housing units. That necessitated an additional variance from the Land Development Code and required the applicant to go back to the Board of Adjustment to seek that variance from the parking requirement. So the minimum parking requirement currently was 80 spaces. The Board of Adjustment has approved the 68 spaces that are currently shown on the plan. If the applicant had gone forward with an entirely workforce housing dedicated project for all 76 units, there would be no variance required from the parking requirements. There have been other hotel conversions and adaptive reuses of these hotels, especially along Market Street. River City Studio Homes at 5040 Market Street utilized the Land Development Code through by right zoning, the commercial district mixed use provision, which allows for basically multifamily development or multi-dwelling development within commercial districts. They achieve this to receive 40 units per acre, and they also provided 21,000 square feet of open space with a pool amenity. The Vivo Apartments, which was 4903 Market Street, they went through the rezoning process and achieved 30 units per acre, 10,500 square feet of amenity space, and about 112,000 square feet of open space for their project. So just want to provide that comparison. Through the Planning Commission, there were improvements that were recommended by staff that the applicant has agreed to in an effort to provide additional sidewalk connections from the building to the entrance on Market Street, the installation of street trees along Market Street if utilities allow for it, and the addition of streetscape landscaping within that open space area to provide additional landscaping that is not previously existing or currently existing. Staff also recommended that the current sign be replaced with a monument sign and remove the currently non-conforming pole sign, and the applicant has agreed to all of those conditions. So for the consistency with our adopted plans, specifically the comprehensive plan, this area is located within a high-density transition area of opportunity, as well as an urban mixed-use center, and is located along a high-capacity transit route on the growth strategies map. Staff's analysis did show some supportive policies for this proposal. Most of these policies centered around adaptive reuse of buildings and workforce housing in locations along transit routes. I've outlined those policies here. However, there were more policies that showed non-support of the proposed rezoning, and those primarily centered around design quality for permanent residency and the lack of usable open space for the permanent residents at this site. To this date, we have not received any comments or testimony at any of the public hearings for or against this project. The the proposed rezoning request does not include any changes to the current site. While it does include a workforce housing component, the proposal fails to offer any amenities or site enhancements for future residents. Open space and amenities are aimed at enhancing residents' quality of life. They extend living areas beyond the doors of individual apartments. They create opportunities for recreation for residents. And for future residents who will live there permanently, staff believes it's important this project provide amenities comparable to those in other developments throughout the city. Therefore, staff believes that the proposed zoning amendment is inconsistent with the Great Wilmington Comprehensive Plan, is not reasonable in the public interest, and recommends denial. I will mention that the Planning Commission did recommend approval 3-1 at their March hearing. Concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and the applicant's here as well with a presentation.
Yes, we have Councilmember Andrews.
Yeah, I had a question. If you go back to the slide that talks about the 80% AMI.
Sure.
I mean, realistically, we're just talking about that first line, maybe the second line, because, I mean, there's not going to be that many larger households living in these units.
I would assume. I just wanted to provide the full
right.
information.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you know what the square footage is of these units?
I will defer to the applicant.
Okay.
I believe he just said around 250 square feet.
250 square feet, okay. And I can wait and ask the applicant this, but yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Lau?
That was kind of my interest too, is the AMI, mostly because it didn't match my math I did this afternoon. Because the rate I got was higher than that, but there's some questions I'll have from the applicant about that too. Did you say the Planning Commission approved it 4-1?
3-1.
3-1, so there's only 4 of them there?
Yes.
And I think that's all I have for you at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Santaguido.
Thank you. Can you go back to the slide that shows the map with different, like the transit routes and different grocery stores and things? Okay. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure that I understood that where the bus stops were near here. And can you go back to one that has the grocery stores as well and restaurants?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
This time I'd like to recognize the applicant.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm Nicholas Silivanch. I'm representing the owner of the property tonight in the adaptive reuse transition. Maybe, there we go, a little bit better? Cool. There we go. So one of the things is adaptive reuse. What is it? It's a process that takes the existing structure, the existing property as it sits today, and we seek to convert it into another use with no real changes to the exterior of the property. So we're not going to impact stormwater needs. We're not going to change utilities. We're not going to really change the rooms around or anything like that. We're limiting what we're doing and coming back with something better for that unit. We were involved in the other 2 adaptive reuse rezonings at the Vivo Wilmington as well as River City Studio Suites, and those projects were great. We didn't change anything on site except for on the inside of those rooms like this one. Kitchenette space was added, living room space was added, and that's what we did there. So another adaptive reuse project here. This one's at 4118 Market Street. We're going to take the 76 studio efficiency apartments as they exist today, and we're asking for a change to the zoning code because with the hospitality code, we could do 30-day rentals. There are some other hotels in town that do 30-day rentals, and we're seeking to do this the right way to do long-term rentals here at this property. This is one of the last remaining hotels that had the consent order from a long time ago where there was sex trafficking, drug use, kidnappings, beatings, domestic violence going on at these hotels, had tons of police calls. We were fortunate enough to get some of the statistics after the conversion of the Budgetel to the Vivo Wilmington as well as River City Suites when that was converted from the Days Inn. And the change in crime in the area along Market Street has dropped dramatically. The number of police calls to the area has dropped dramatically because we've created a sense of community in turning these hotels into apartment complexes. So it's a benefit for us here in Wilmington. We are located along we're located along one of the bus lines. We are walking distance to Food Lion. We've got 4 different food options across the street for residents to walk to, 1 next door. We're close to areas of employment for everybody. So for workforce housing and for entry-level housing here in Wilmington, this is a good option for folks. So this is where we are. Obviously, you saw what staff presented for that. I do want to call out, we're adding back green space in the front, so we're taking space that currently is just driveway, and we're going to make that green space in the front. You'll see on a later slide where we've agreed and we're showing how we're going to add the sidewalk out from the front of the building to the street from Market Street so residents can walk there. You know, in the back, we're adding some more space to what exists right now as a barbecue pit and a dog walk area, so we're going to open that up a little bit. With modernizing the parking to go from, what was it, Jake, 8 to 8.5? Yeah, so we're going from an 8-foot wide space to an 8.5-foot wide space. We did lose some of the parking there, and then we were able to finally agree on a new number at 68 for the parking spaces, because many of our residents don't have vehicles. They walk, or they're riding public transportation, and that's proven with the other developments that we've done throughout town, or we've represented the transition on throughout town. Most of the residents don't have cars because they can't afford them. So this is like a restart spot in life, or it's a entry-level spot after they graduate college and go out on their own. So this is what we have right now. These are the existing conditions of the unit. You can see the hot plate, microwave, stove, kitchen sink, and you've got your bathroom, you've got your living room. They're already operating as suites right now. Some more shots of what the interiors look like. So we want to convert this 76 hotel rooms into 76 studio apartments. We're 1.26 acres. We will provide 68 parking spaces after it gets restriped. We want to rezone it from RB to MD17. We've had success at 5040 Market Street and at 4903 Market Street. This is bringing mixed-use node to the corridor by putting permanent residents here. Okay. And then we've also had the other variances approved for parking density and open space at Board of Adjustment. So we're going to have rental control on 20 out of the 76 units to be set at the HUD high home rental rate for 15 years. We've agreed to add in a sidewalk along the new grass area. We're thinking probably put some benches out there. There's going to be some trees we're going to plant back for the streetscape. We're going to have some bushes in. We're lowering the sign down, so it'd be a nice modernized, apartment sign once we get done with it. We're not changing the footprint at all of the building. So on 1.26 acres, we're pretty maxed out. We're not adding any floors to the project. We're taking it as it stays today. We want to turn the lights off as a hotel, turn them back on as an apartment complex the next day. Here's our front elevation, current sign elevation. That was one of the proposed changes to the front view where we cut off the driveway area and we add back some green space. And now that's adding in the green space with the new sidewalk. And that's what we're asking to do, guys, is we want to bring some affordable, both locked in HUD high home rent affordable units as well as market style affordable efficiency units to the market where utilities are included, because we're not changing any of the utilities. We're not, doing anything really to the property except saying, hey, instead of being a hotel, we're going to be apartments now. That's what I got.
You guys, questions here? Mr. Joyner?
I have a few questions.
Yes, sir.
So you said you have Vivo and River City.
Yes, sir.
This would be your third property in the city of Wilmington.
Third conversion.
Say it again.
Third conversion, yes, sir.
Do you have any outside of the city?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. So you talked about the distinction between right now this property is offering up to 30-day rentals. You would be offering longer. What is your intended window? 6 months, 12 months, 18 months?
12 month.
Is that pretty standard for what you've got at the other two properties?
Yes, sir.
What is your general turnover rate? Like how often are people re-signing at the other properties?
That I don't know the direct answer to. What I can tell you, since I'm just the real estate broker and development process manager here for this, what I can speak to is having talked to the managers and the owners of those projects. They had wait lists from when it was announced that they were going to be opening as studio apartments that were, a couple hundred people deep. And then because the River City Suites, that was damaged real bad after Florence, and they had to come back and redo all of the interior rooms and stuff. So after it got through the rezoning and the CDMU process there, and they were bringing units online, they had a wait list for them, and they were filling them up, and it was a rapid lease up there. Vivo, same thing. They went through the rezoning, were approved for 30 units an acre, and that project was 8 acres. The other project was 2.5 acres. So, I mean, it's just, when we say we didn't change anything on the site, and we're seeing stats about, what the open space and the amenities and all that are, there wasn't anything added. In fact, we added more green space over at River City Suites back to that project and lost parking spots there to accommodate some more open space because we couldn't do it otherwise. But back to what you said, and Vivo's lease up, as they were converting those units from being just a hotel unit into a suite or an efficiency apartment, they were leasing up rather rapidly as well. And then they took the old restaurant space that was there and turned it into a gym and a tenant center. We're going to take the current operating office and the adjacent unit to it, and which is right now operating as like a manager suite, and that'll be a tenant space as well as lease-up office. So there will be that amenity on site for the tenants to have a little bit of a workforce, work from home area if you want to leave your unit, come down and have common space and whatnot. Obviously not outside, it would be interior, but yeah.
All right, that's all I have for right now.
Okay.
And inadvertently, Mayor Pro Tem.
I hate that the owner sent you here to get this verbal lashing that I'm going to have to give you for this, because there's no way possible. You're going to turn a hotel into permanent living spaces, and you're not going to renovate. You're not going to expand the spaces. And you keep putting the emphasis on the outside, and I'm certain there are some council members who are more concerned about the outside than the inside. But I am more concerned about the inside and the livability for whatever tenants you may have. I'm certain you may get some, but I just don't see it.
So after Florence, these rooms were all renovated into suites. So they've been recently re-renovated with new floors, new paint, backsplashes, kitchenettes, all of that.
Have you spent 12 months in a suite? Have you?
I mean, when I was in college and I lived in a studio apartment over on, Racine?
I'm glad you said that again, because you said something really important in your presentation about the college students in Wilmington. The college students in Wilmington, they drive better cars than us. I graduated from UNCW. They drove Range Rovers and Beamers and Mercedes, and so I don't think they're going to live there or that they're going to live in Vivo. And I mean, I'm certain that not even most of the students at Cape Fear Community College don't have cars. I don't know. I'm appalled a little bit by this. I'm a lot appalled by this, actually, because it seems like a money grab to me, right? There's nothing really satisfying for future tenants here. I could see if you were going to convert 76 hotel rooms into 40 permanent houses, that mean permanent apartments. That mean that you would take some space from other hotel rooms to create some comfort, some livability, and then the price point. Almost $1,100 a month to live in a hotel room is insane to me.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. In fact, when we were looking at the numbers for it, the 2025 HUD high home rents were at like $856, and we were looking at being somewhere around that 950 number, and then the new numbers that came out for 2026 jumped the efficiency unit up to being at 1,000, what is it, 83? And the first time I saw that was when it was recently released back in, I think, the end of February, start of March. So that's HUD saying this is what it should be, and blows me away.
Well, we're both blown away. And here's the other thing. So 20 of these 76 are going to be workforce, and then you're gonna lease the other 50 at market rate.
Yeah, which is about the same exact price. Yeah, which is wild to me, because we had budgeted for it to be, if it's $850 for a studio,
I don't want you saying things.
We're going to be $100 more for the other.
Yeah, don't cost yourself your job. Just let me beat up on you a little bit more.
Come on.
Yeah, you can keep your job, because this is a hard no for me. Hard, super hard no. I'll let the rest of my council members speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clinton Quintana.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm also concerned about a couple of your comments, and one in particular was that, some people don't have vehicles. And I'm just curious how you think that those folks that don't have vehicles would want to come and live here. And to Mayor Pro Tem's point, in a small hotel suite, we're not expanding it, we're just flipping it. It sounds great, right? I'm all for a tiny home. I've said that throughout my campaign, but we're not doing anything different to it. It's more of the outside than the inside. It just doesn't seem, I don't know that I would want to live in that. But to each his own. Also, are there current residents in this hotel?
No, my understanding is that right now it's just open to anybody who's going to come and rent a room for whatever the period of time that they're renting the room for at the hotel is.
Do you have anyone in that hotel who's renting it for an extended period of time?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you ask?
My clients own the hotel. They manage it themselves, but they don't have anybody there that lives there long term that I'm aware of. And I've asked that question before.
Your definition of long term would be?
That would be that they're there for probably 30 days or longer.
Right. So you guys don't have anyone who's
No,
been there
because
longer than that.
they've typically had, like during storm events or something like that, they'll get workers that come in and rent the rooms for 30, 60 days, whatever it ends up being, because they're helping haul off tree debris, or they're there as construction workers and they're fixing things around town.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Andrews.
Yeah, I think a couple of my questions were already answered. You're saying that the 1083, which is the HUD rate for workforce for 250 square feet, which blows me away. You're saying that the market rate is probably only $100 more than that?
No, I honestly, that's probably market rate for it. Last year's number, the 2025 numbers, were substantially lower. And HUD revised that number up and blew me away when we were last discussing at the planning board. I hadn't anticipated that the number was going to be, $1,083 a month. I was under the impression that it was still that $856,900 number. And then, we're including utilities in the rental rate as well. So their electric, water, sewer, and trash are all included in that rental number that we're asking for, that would be asked of the tenants that are living there. So you're cutting down and minimizing what your rent is, as well as putting utilities into that, which many apartment complexes in town, you're going to pay that rental number plus for living at, where here it's all kind of wrapped in, which is what you do with an adaptive reuse, because you're not going to individually meter units, since you've got everything coming in and you want to transition and provide housing as rapidly as you can to the market.
Okay, and I was going to comment on the same thing that Councilmember Clinton Quintana commented on. I actually wrote down the quote. You said most of the residents can't afford cars. It's just, I'm having a hard time getting my head around the fact that somebody can't afford a car, but essentially a single person, because I can't even think of anybody that I would want to live with in 250 square feet. But sorry if that's TMI, but
No, that's fair.
I can't imagine a single person that can't afford a car that can afford $1,100 a month in rent. It's just.
We have some, we've, from working on the other projects, there are residents that come in and they can't afford the car because they may have just lost their home or something like that. And, this is a restart spot for them in life. So they can rent it, they can walk to work, they can get on the bus, ride the bus to work, do what they need to do, or they've gotten out of a bad situation and they don't have that car because maybe they're a DV victim or something like that, and this is a place for them to go that they can be at that's safe and whatnot. So, and we have, I'm aware that, we have had DV victims at some of the other projects move in like emergency situations and whatnot, and it's helped the community out by having that option and that resource for them.
Thank you.
Councilmember Santaguido.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I want to start off by acknowledging that, the choices that are available to the people in this room for where we would choose to live are maybe different than a lot of other folks. So I understand that while this may not be a very desirable living situation for a lot of folks, this may be the only option for some. I recognize that. I appreciate the effort to make housing available for folks that are experiencing that place in their life. I also appreciate that utilities are included. I think that helps buffer some of the numbers that we saw. But that leads into my first question, which is the consideration that's been given to making this entire complex workforce housing or affordable housing. Have you all considered that? I mean, this, 26% workforce housing for a complex like this. I'm just curious what consideration was given to just going 100% there.
So taking a look at what HUD did, they jumped the HUD high home rent by $200, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to look at it from the perspective of, okay, we're going to have, we were looking at it from the $850 a month number, and then you're going to net out utilities from that. So what's your actual number going to be there? Okay, well, we're going to take the remainder of the units, will be $100 more a month. We're going to net out at that lower number here. HUD jumped those numbers for 2026 here. What's to stop them from turning around and saying, okay, well, now in 2027, we're going to go to $600 a month? Okay, well, now if you've got a project that someone's bought, they've invested into, and they're operating and maintaining it, they are naturally, because they're only 256 square feet, they are naturally occurring workforce housing units. No one's ever going to really say, oh, I'm going to come in here and pay $1,500 a month for this. No, that's not going to happen. So
I'm sure New York City said that at some point too.
well, yeah, but I mean, with New York City's got 90-story buildings.
I understand
and
it's
we don't.
I understand it's a
Yeah.
completely. I'm just saying,
But for
when we leave it
Wilmington,
to the market, we
yeah.
don't lock in those workforce rates, and I'm just curious what consideration you've given to that.
I mean, we looked at it, and that's why, we originally started off looking at 10, and we went to the 20% to get through, and we were comfortable with 20 of the units, which would leave us with 56 left, because we also have to accommodate for people that have mobility issues, disability issues, and whatnot, and have handicap units that are located throughout, but mostly on the first floor. So, when we've only got X so many units to place these affordable units plus the handicap units and make sure that we're accommodating everybody that's going to be with us, that's what we're looking at.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for answering my question. I'm curious what consideration has been given to what staff brought up in their recommendations with regard to the amount of open space, the general appearance and facade of the building, the look of the building, that box style. What have you all considered in terms of addressing those concerns from staff that they've presented?
So with adaptive reuse, the process and the thought is, and I know we don't really have a policy at the city for adaptive reuse, is taking what exists, and there's only so much that we can do to address the concerns of, well, you need X amount of parking spots per unit. Okay, well, we also need to have X amount of green space. We also need to have this. Well, here's what we can do to accommodate those things. Here's what's reasonable for something like this, where we're not trying to, break the bank and make this look like the Taj Mahal.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to provide workforce housing and affordable housing units as rapidly as we can without having to go through an 18-month process with the state of North Carolina, come here and ask the city to, donate to our budget for the construction process, those kind of things that happen. We're not asking for any of that. What we're asking for is the zoning, and we can deliver these within 90 days, not 6 months, 18 months after getting approved, and then going through the build process, the permit process, all that. That's part of what we're looking at here is, is it the most attractive building in the world? No. Is it a rundown building? No, it's an operating functional building. It has, gone through multiple hurricanes in our area. It's cinder block, it's strong, and it's built in the 1950s, and here we are today with it, still functional, still working, and ready for its next part of life, which would be providing workforce housing solutions right in the heart of Market Street to the residents of Wilmington that need it the most, and they can access everything they need just by walking, which is great.
So it sounds like the conclusion that you've come to is that it's not likely to be able to address the inconsistencies with the plan that the staff has pointed out. Am I summarizing your answer correctly?
Yeah, I mean, we've
Okay.
done the best that we can within the policies. I mean, what staff has is a policy that says for brand new development, you've got to have all of this.
Mhm.
We're not brand new development. We can't add a pool in here. Where would we put it on? I mean, where would we put it on our site plan? We're a long tubular building. We're a long tubular lot like a bowling alley. Where would it go? It can't. So what are we doing? We're adding back green space in the front that can be a common space with some picnic benches on it. We're adding green space in the back for a dog walk and barbecue pits in the rear. We're doing what we can and adaptively reusing the property as it sits today to meet what a market demand would be for affordable housing in Wilmington.
I have one more question, then I'll
Yes,
let my
ma'am.
colleagues go. You mentioned a couple of other projects that you've done this with Vivo and River City.
Mhm.
What's the square footage of those units?
They were, John, I
Are
believe
they
were
about the same?
250 to 275, so they're all about the same.
So about the same.
Yep.
Are those, and then what is the percentage of workforce housing in those
So the,
development projects?
The one for River City was 120, they did 10%, so I think it was about 12. Vivo was 220 units, they did 10% there, I believe, so it was 22, and they're both at 96% occupancy.
Okay. And that 10% was for 15 years?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So I know one of the comments was, I don't know who wants to live there. Well, if they're both projects are 96% occupied, they're full. People are living there, and it's helping our community members out.
Yeah, I'm not making judgments
No,
about
no,
who
I
wants
know.
to live
I'm just
here. I'm
saying.
asking questions about how this compares to the other projects. Yeah, thanks.
So.
Councilmember Lau.
Thanks. I love the adaptive reuse aspect of this. Kind of makes me wish we were in a form-based code already so that we could focus on the streetscape and let go of some of the other concerns. I'm not concerned about the size of the units, like some of the others mentioned. It's not where I might want to choose to live, but I'm not judging, people in different situations. Sorry. But and with adaptive reuse, I'm also willing to, meet use in the middle of brand new development standards versus, doing nothing. But I feel like we need to get a little closer to the middle. My biggest concern, I know you got this through BOA, is the fact that you're 8 parking spaces short. And this assumes that the 8 people who live there won't have a car, because you'll probably be full. There'll be obviously a very big demand for this, and that nobody's visiting. I'm concerned about the flow of traffic if people go through and they pass one space, but they're looking for another, like we all do. And when they come out, thank you for the open space, but it also takes away that pull through. So I know you have to make some decisions about those different priorities. I'm just concerned about somebody pulling out on a Market Street trying to get back into the other side. I was wondering if you had talked to the restaurant next door about sharing parking or leasing some spots that would be available after a certain time of day or something like that after a dinner.
We had not, but it was something that was thought of.
Okay, because that would help with that. But I know that's like, we'd love to see more open space, of course, but then it impacts the parking. It's just a really tight lot that we're working with, so. Let's see, oh, and to confirm what one of the staff members said, when they assumed that you had 100% workforce housing, the parking was met? The parking Standards were met? Because the 80% of AMI, just doing the math here, not speculating on who's moving in there, but just doing the math, 80% AMI is still $60,000 a year. So I don't know, a lot of people in that income range that are not having a car. So that's my biggest concern is the parking situation. Another question is, are we draining? Is the whole site draining to the street? Because you got curb in the back and all that.
Yes, ma'am.
And your dumpster pads back there by the storage building?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Councilmember Clinton-Quintana.
So, just curious, washer and dryers?
We have laundry facilities on the property.
Okay. And also, I know you said that this was like workforce housing and walk to work, but if I'm not mistaken, there's not a lot of, the hospital is not close by. You have to drive if you work there. This is the area where Target, 7-Eleven, Hooters, Food Lion, if anyone is working at those locations, the salaries won't cover that workforce housing rent.
Like I said, I was blown away by what
I
HUD
got
came
you.
out on
I
the rental rates,
understand.
because we were budgeting sub $1,000 a month for rent here.
I understand, but I also know that there are several people watching, and I just want to call out the obvious, right?
Yeah.
And I do commend you all for thinking of something outside of the box and trying to get affordable housing. Not necessarily too affordable for some, but maybe someone else. And again, you know, to Councilwoman Lyle's point, we're not judging, to each his own, right? But this doesn't seem like I know you keep saying like people can walk, and yes, you can walk to Target, you can maybe walk to 7-Eleven. You definitely don't want to, I don't know about you, but I've tried to cross that street. It's not easy. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Spears.
Yeah, so Councilwoman Clinton-Quintana kind of stole my thunder just a tad bit. And I've heard my other council members say that they're not judging, right? And clearly I'm judging. I'm not judging you. I'm judging the project. And again, my concern is the well-being of the people who may live there. And the thunder that Councilwoman Clinton-Quintana stole was you said that they could walk to work. So yeah, where are they going to work? Are they going to work at the Food Lion? Are they going to work at the Mexican restaurants across the street? Maybe Enterprise, maybe. Right. So it's just the walkability and the workforce housing aspect of the thing is pretty much unrealistic. In addition to the parking, because if someone did decide to live there, they would probably have a car or two. And then I think a key point that we're missing here when we're talking AMI, and we often talk AMI, right? But we never really talk about the people that live in our community that don't even make $30,000 a year. And there's a lot of people who live here in Wilmington, and like I said earlier, the top percentage of the AMI skews the numbers.
Absolutely.
For everyone else. So it seems like, oh, come to Wilmington, it's great, you live great, everybody's living great here, but they're not. Right? And so I'm certain your other properties do have a 96% capacity rate because, yeah, people have to live somewhere. But how comfortable are they living in these residents? And yeah, I'm still, I'm surprised. I am really surprised, and yeah, I'll let it be because I don't think that there's enough here to sell it. And I will say that this is my last point that I wanted to make. For me, I won't pass just anything just for the sake of affordable housing.
Not asking you to.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councilmember Andrews.
I wanted to go back to what some of the other council members were asking about comparison to the other properties. Did any of the other properties have a shortage of parking like this?
Yes, we did at River City Suites.
By
And-
how many,
and
by how
It was
many
by about
spaces?
5 or 10 spots. And that's also, we removed some of the parking from it to add back to the green space, and that's what created our parking crunch there. I think, John, will we end up like 5 or 10 spaces short? Yeah. Right, we also had EV parking there because they used to be the spot where the Duke's sausage trucks that were local would hook up at night. So we had some EV parking options, and then we had a mixed-use commercial building in the front. So at night, when that restaurant closes or whatever, those parks open up for residents, and then during the daytime, when the residents leave, those parks are available for the restaurant space, because that was a commercial district mixed-use rezoning.
So we don't have that here.
Correct.
We don't have
We
any
don't have a
overflow.
commercial space
Okay.
here.
I would love nothing better than to hope that people are going to give up their cars. But we've actually, a year or so ago, we had a project that was near some multifamily where we actually lost housing because they needed it for parking for multifamily. And just earlier tonight, we heard another project where, we were going to lose housing for parking. And so it does become an issue. And it becomes a quality of life issue too, when you can't have anybody visit because you don't have any parking, and you don't know if you're going to have your space available. I'm assuming these are not going to be assigned parking.
I don't.
You don't know.
I don't know, because that's going to end up being with how the final operator decides to operate the project. We would anticipate that the parking spots are going to probably be assigned. I mean, some of the units, especially if they're handicapped or disabled residents that are living there, they may not have a vehicle, and they might get picked up by whatever local support group is there, because I'm sure that we're going to have some of those residents that are in need of care and support off-site, and they need a place to live here. And they can live with us here, and we can accommodate them without a vehicle. So there are some agencies out there in town that have people that need to live somewhere, and they don't need vehicles because they're picked up by community support and whatnot. And that's some of what our resident makeup will be. We're obviously, I mean, when we were doing our pro forma budget on this thing, we were not over $1,000 a month on rent. I'm being dead honest with you guys on that, and that's including utilities into what we were looking at on the rental basis. HUD coming out with that number kind of just blew me out of the water, and I'm like, that's more than what I was looking at for a market rate unit, is what you're saying for the efficiency is. So I don't understand where HUD came up with that. And to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, yeah, our AMIs here are completely skewed by folks that are moving into town with higher income figures, and then it takes most of the folks that work at Dollar General, work at Walmart, work at Target, work at Food Lion, who are not making a salary like that, and they've got 2, 3, or 4 roommates here in Wilmington. Just to rent a house or rent an apartment, you've got 3 roommates. Then they're splitting utility bills, they're splitting all that. So some of that is, hey, look, your rent is this, but your utilities are included. These other things are included. So it's a benefit in some way to them, because what their gross payment for utilities, rent, everything else is, we're wrapping at least some of that in here into one number.
I just had one more question. How many employees does the hotel currently employ?
I don't know what my client's current staff is for operation.
Because, I mean, that's where the real profit point is going to be from turning a hotel into long-term residential, right, is lower.
So what? Right, we are required to have overnight staff as part of the consent order right now. How many people that is, I don't know. It might be 1 person, maybe 2 people. But I can tell you that knowing what the income figures are from the hotel versus seeing what the revised pro forma would be based on the rental rates, it's making more as a hotel right now.
Okay.
I think you do. Councilmember Lau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When you were running your pro forma numbers, did you look at putting the workforce housing at a lower AMI, like 60%?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that would help? I mean, that would work?
We can work with that, absolutely.
So
It's
have
within the
those-
margins that we actually, I think the 60% number is at where the 80% number was last fall. So yeah, we can make that work.
Because that would make the rents a little lower and also help put you in the market of maybe some people that don't have cars.
Yeah.
So that's just something I was trying to make this, find a way to have this work out.
I mean, I don't have an issue, I think, agreeing to what the 60% number is, if that's helpful.
It looks like Linda's calculating it right now. Yeah, she is. There's just so much asphalt right around there. It seems like there'd be an opportunity to lease some parking spaces. Because all the parking is overdone, except for maybe at the rental car place. There's probably plenty of parking needed
Yeah,
there.
well,
But it seems like an opportunity to do some shared parking back there with the restaurant. So
I mean, I think that makes sense, and it's definitely something to explore further when the time's right. So, but obviously we don't have anything.
You're not here
in
tonight
place.
with it, I understand.
Correct.
So if you went with a 60% AMI, instead of going with high home rent, you'd probably be looking at a low home rent, which would be $948 for rent.
That's still $100 more than where we were last fall. We're good with that number because that was the market rate number we were looking at for the units last fall.
You were looking at that for the market rate units? For the
Yeah,
whole
we were
thing?
looking at 951 being the market rate unit number. And that's the number that I have plugged into the spreadsheet on my computer for this thing, and it works as a project at 951 for the market rate, and we budgeted 854 for the HUD rent units. So those were the numbers we were working with, was 854 and 950, $950 a month for rent, including utilities. You can't find that anywhere else in town, except at maybe Vivo and River City Suites, because they're other adaptive reuse projects.
And you said you didn't put in those amenities. They already were there, like the pool
Correct.
and the...
Correct.
Yeah, so
In fact, the pool, I think it had to get like a new pump over at River City because it was completely green and was not being maintained because the hotel was not functional and the rooms there were completely destroyed from the previous, from Florence. And at Vivo, the pool there had been working for forever and was just, part of the hotel.
Thanks.
Linda, what is the rent at Starway Village? Do you have that number?
I do not. We will try and find that out. I can tell you that the 60%, the income for a single person household at 60% AMI would be $45,560. So just to put that in perspective.
Okay. Just actually, Linda, and this is a question for staff. I know that you guys denied it based on some of the amenity issues and the parking issues and what have you. Would you, hypothetically, would you have supported this if they would have been able to meet that criteria?
The lower income criteria or the
development aspects of the development. Obviously, this is
Yeah, I think our concern was coming from, again, looking at this as converting to someplace where somebody's going to live every single day, and looking at having quality housing for all residents. So if we had open space and amenities, the parking, I think as Pat mentioned, if you did more units at affordable, our code already provides reductions in parking based on affordability, based on that assumption that the lower you go in terms of income, you may have people who don't have own vehicles. So the parking space requirements for the workforce housing units is a half a space per unit as compared to, I believe it's 1.5 spaces per unit, typically speaking, for a studio or a one-bedroom apartment. Additionally, the code provides a further reduction for proximity to transit service. So all of this parking has been reduced based on its location on a transit line, the number of workforce housing units. And so if they had done more workforce housing units, you wouldn't even need a parking variance. That would not be on the table. If they had included a commercial component, the density variance would not have been required because we allow, and the reason they wouldn't be here this evening, because in the regional business district, you can do a commercial district mixed use, and if you provide 10% of those units as workforce housing and you have a commercial component on site, there's no density cap in terms of what you can do. And so really it comes down to that open space as being that one remaining component. And given that the grocery store was about a half-mile away, the closest park was almost a mile, we were, again, looking at this. And the code specifies that these things come into play when you go to residential. If it were going commercial to commercial, we don't even look at parking. So if you're going from office to restaurant with an existing building, you're not doing anything to the site, we don't change the parking requirements just because you're changing the use. But it does treat residential differently, recognizing that you are going from a commercial use to a place where people are going to be living.
And there's no way to be able to, I know you folks have, I'm sure, wrestled with this and looked at it, and there's just no way to meet that criteria, is there? I mean, you've done it on the other two. Maybe you had more land availability and you were able to do it on those conversions.
Correct.
But on this one, being very tight, and I've looked at the site, it is extremely tight.
Correct.
In respect to what you're trying to do here.
And there was nowhere to meet because you have to have a certain threshold on your square footage for the commercial district mixed use with the multifamily. There was nowhere for us to really have that square footage be available for commercial space and without having a tenant amenity center. So, you know, we're having that little tenant amenity center, meeting space, kitchen, common space. In the front left of where the lobby is, there's a manager suite, or what you would call for the overnight manager to go into when nobody's coming in to rent a room. Well, that becomes now a little tenant rec center room. And then you've got your operations room, which is the current check-in lobby. So there will be an indoor amenity center. It's just not going to be having a grand pool outside.
Okay. And we did get the, Clinton, Quintana just shared with me that at Starway Village, the 1 and 3 bedroom units, it starts at 1,047 to 1,442, 750 square feet to 1,265 square feet. So, and I know that they're just about leased up over there. So I know that there's a strong demand for housing, all types of housing, and it's.
If I may add, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
One of the other concerns that I've discussed with staff about this proposal is going back to the comment that Ms. Painter made a minute ago, is about the quality of the housing. And so when we're looking at this proposal, one of the major components that it's missing is when you are inside the apartment, to even call it an efficiency apartment, it doesn't have an actual kitchen. It has a hot plate and a microwave. And an efficiency apartment typically at least has a 2-burner stove. And so when we're talking about not being able to fit in the green space, and we're talking about not being able to fit the efficient parking or sufficient parking into it, it's because we're trying to cram too many living spaces onto a small lot, and the current apartment rooms are not even actually the definition of an efficiency apartment, because they even lack the amenities of an efficiency apartment. And so we would be able to do away with many of these conversations if the rooms were combined. To do a true adaptive reuse would be to make these actual living spaces for these residents. It would still meet the definition of efficiency. It would still have the income limitations that you can put into place, and they can actually be something closer to a true apartment as opposed to a hotel room that somebody is living in. And respectfully, I would question if there will only be one person in these rooms. I fully believe there are many people. If they're a couple, if they have children, they will be having multiple people in these spaces. And we recognize people are struggling, people may not have a lot of means, but so they're going to take a roof over their head. But is this an actual place that we would want to be providing for people in our community? And so that's really where staff is coming from when it comes to the quality of life. It's not just what's in the code for the outside, but it is what the actual conditions are on the inside. Thank you.
Thank you. And Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem Manu.
Thank you, Becky. I said that, but you said it so much better.
And I would imagine that to convert those, it goes through a whole building code and updates and.
Correct.
And I guess that's.
Correct,
the
just
co-
'cause-
That's the cost, and that's the cost benefit or.
Correct. Just because we have this here, it still has to go through building code with New Hanover County to make sure it meets all the minimum requirements of what an efficiency apartment needs to be. So there will probably be further upgrades that are done to these spaces based off of what we have here today.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. This time I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask if anybody in the public wishes to speak on item PH2.
I'd just like to decode some of what I heard. No renovations means we don't have to spend any money on this. Not changing the room size means we don't have to spend any money on this. Not reducing the unit number for a more reasonable space means we can have more renters and more money. The HUD price change means, hey, we get more money than we originally thought we'd get. Having a wait list for a 250 square apartment doesn't mean anything other than people in Wilmington are pretty desperate for housing. A reset space that people can barely afford doesn't mean it's good. It means exploitation of people that don't have a better choice. To say, we don't judge people for living in this space is wild, assuming this is someone's ideal spot for them to choose to live, probably means they're in a desperate place, and this is exploitation of those people in desperate places. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. My name is Philip White. I live at 1904 Washington Street, and I currently serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Amherst, Massachusetts, so I deal with these all the time. One thing, you addressed a multitude of issues that I saw. One thing that I didn't hear addressed that I take huge issue with. I don't see any way legally that we can consider that front green space to actually qualify as green space due to its proximity to Market Street. The applicant said they want to put a table out there, maybe children are there. I don't know what commercial insurance company is going to write a policy for a children's play area or even an area where people are going to be standing in a green space that is 15 feet from Market Street. That is something that's of huge concern for safety issues. I would consider that to be probably more of a landscaping barrier, but I do not see how that is at all usable green space. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I want to thank y'all for talking about our residents. We know y'all are speaking about them being Food Lion and restaurants, but let's be honest, I manage a bank. I just pulled up one of my employees' full-time salary. I don't get to choose that. My corporation does. They cannot afford to live here. They cannot afford to live here, and they're a banker at a bank because our income is not up to where it needs to be. We're still considered a sleepy small town financially. However, we're outpricing ourselves. I'm thankful to be able to be at a place where I can afford it. However, I do have employees in the past who have lived in their cars instead of living in houses because they need a place to go. They need a place to get their kids to school. And we do not have choice ridership at WAVE. We don't. And until we get choice ridership, we are required to have cars to live in Wilmington. Thank you.
Anybody else? Madam Clerk, have you received any additional comments?
No, sir.
Are there any further questions from council? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council in respect to the item. Councilmember Andrews?
Mr. Mayor, I move to reject the proposed amendment.
We have a motion to deny by Councilmember Andrews, second by Mayor Pro Tem Spears. You have to read a consistency statement for the record, please.
I move to reject the proposed amendment to rezone property located at RB Regional Business to MD 17 CD High Density Multiple Dwelling Residential Conditional District for a residential development and find it to be inconsistent with the relevant policies in the comprehensive plan based on the application materials and the information provided at the public hearing and in the staff report as attached or described below. And rejection is appropriate as the zoning request is not reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The proposed development is inconsistent with the Create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan and lacks amenities and site enhancements for future residents.
Okay. All right, all ready to vote? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Put your, count 'em.
I can't vote here, but I'm in favor.
Aye. 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 That's unanimous. Okay. All right. That brings us to our next item of business, which is...
Mayor, may I make a point of order motion? May I propose that we go ahead and move to committee reports? We've got we're taking longer on the agenda than I expected, and I know there's some people here who are simply here for report number 1. I would have a motion to reorder the agenda to address that item.
Okay.
Council's naming facilities committee.
Let's do that. All right. We can go right ahead. So we're going to go ahead and move the reports up. And
You need to take a vote on that to waive the rules and move.
Yes, can we waive the rules? Can I please have a waiver of the rules? Have a motion to waive the rules?
A second, David, Councilman Joyner's motion.
Mr. Joyner made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Santaguida. All in favor of the motion to waive the rules, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. The rules have been waived. We will move the item RP1 at this time to the forefront. So I'm going to turn this over to Councilmember Clinton Quintana, who is the chairperson of that committee.
Good evening, everyone. I am Councilmember Chikima Clinton Quintana, Chair of the Naming and Facilities Committee. The committee met on Monday, March 23rd for agenda item number 1, which was the request to rename Greenfield Grind Skate Park, located at 368 Park Street, the applicant being Andrew Bell, honoring Alec Chambers. All documents were included, and the recommendation and action by the committee was approved unanimously. Agenda item number 2, to rename the tennis courts at Robert Strange Park at 8th Street Center, MLK, in honor of Lenny Simpson. The recommendation of the committee was to continue the naming of this at our next meeting. Our vote was unanimous. Agenda item number 3, which is the Wilmington Revolutionary 250th Art. Documents were included, and council has allocated $25,000 for this proposed project. I am going to call on City Manager Becky Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilwoman Clinton Quintana. Amy Beatty, our Parks and Recreation Director, is actually going to share some additional information with council at this time.
Thank you, Amy Beatty.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. Last summer, City Council appropriated $25,000 for an art installation celebrating Wilmington's role in the Revolutionary War to coincide with America's 250th this year. And the process that we chose to facilitate this project was for Parks and Recreation staff to work with Rhonda Bellamy, the Executive Director of the Wilmington, New Hanover County Arts Council, to develop a scope and put out an advertisement commissioning an artist. Subsequent to that, staff put together a review committee to evaluate the submissions, and I'll go over the composition of that review committee over the next 2 slides. And then the process after that was to make a recommendation to City Council's Facilities and Naming Committee. The selection committee was comprised of city staff, as well as our clerk, Ms. Spicer Sidbury, who is also the liaison to the Commission on African American History, Evelyn Adger, the board chair for the Commission of African American History, Lynn Ashcraft, who is with the North Carolina Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and also a chair of the North Carolina America 250 group. We had a representation from the Bellamy Mansion, again, the Arts Council, the Cape Fear Museum, the Burke and White House, and another member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Staff made a selection among 12 proposals to recommend to the Facilities and Naming Committee. And the basis for the selection was the submission's relevance to Wilmington's revolutionary history, the artistic interpretation, the feasibility and durability of the material of the proposed sculpture, and the strength of the artist's resume. You can see a mock-up here on this slide, and it is about 7.5 feet tall. The name of the sculpture is Canceled Cups, and the artist is Stumberg Gorham. And I'm going to read the plaque that is planned to go below the sculpture that's on the slide, but is a little bit hard to read. Canceled Cups pays tribute to the brave women of the Wilmington Tea Walk. In 1775, as recorded by Janet Shaw in her Journal of a Lady of Quality, these American patriots participated in a solemn procession to publicly burn tea in downtown Wilmington as an act of resistance against British rule. Such an act, especially for women at the time, was bold and socially risky, yet these women were strong in their convictions, proud to openly reject such a luxurious commodity in favor of sovereignty. This artwork honors these patriotic women and their quiet yet very public act of rebellion. The steps that were taken, again, to overview these, the Facilities Naming Committee was provided with staff's recommendation at their meeting last month to make a recommendation to City Council tonight. We discussed several proposed locations, and that conversation continues. If City Council acts on this tonight, then the city would enter into a contract with the artists to commission the work, and then we would plan for the art installation and ceremony. At the presentation and meeting of the Facilities Naming Committee, there was a desire to see the location at the foot of Market Street or close to that. Staff is evaluating that area and other areas close by. We would also ask council to consider a temporary installation so that we can commemorate and have a ceremony tying this art installation to America's 250th this summer. This is breaking news, but the city is planning a pop-up park at 305 Chestnut Street across from Thalian Hall, which is the former site of the city's administration buildings, to be a celebration 250th pop-up park. We thought it would be a great idea for council to entertain having a ceremony there and a temporary installation there while staff continues to evaluate spaces down at the foot of Market Street and Water Street Park. And I'll answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions for Ms. Beatty, Ms. Santaguida?
I don't have a question. Amy, thank you for presenting this, and thanks to the Facilities Naming committee. I'm really excited to learn about this artwork. I got to participate in the reenactment of the Ladies' Tea Walk a couple weeks ago. Our city manager was there as well. I'd like to think of myself as a woman who would have burned some tea in those times, and I know a few others as well. So I think this is going to be great to see in our city. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay. Amy, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Awesome. So it looks like we have a motion by Councilmember Salette Andrews, a second by Councilmember Cassidy Santagita. All those in favor, I think I'm going right, yep.
Say aye.
Please say
Aye.
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 Any nays? Motion improves.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Joyner? Do you want to say something? You brought this.
I didn't have anything planned, but I guess procedurally, just to recap what we did, thank you, Chairwoman, for giving us the report from that committee. We heard that each of the two items were voted out from committee favorably to City Council. There's one item that's going to remain on that committee's agenda, but now we have voted unanimously to adopt the recommendations of that committee. And may I ask someone on staff to give us a timeline of when we can expect to have more information? I'm not going to hold you down to a specific date yet, but when we can expect to have more information about when we will rename Greenfield Grind to the Alec Chambers Skate Park of Wilmington.
We will get a timeline and put it together so that we can share it with the community and have a naming ceremony.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item of business, item PH3, which is for the 2027 Annual Action Plan for CDBG and Home Funds. And at this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Gilbert Combs, our Community Development and Housing Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. Just here before you to provide a brief overview of this year's annual action plan, the framework that helps to build a plan and some variables that influence the direction of activities in the coming year. The development of the annual action plan comes with additional requirements such as this public hearing and a 30-day public comment period, which started on March 12th and will end this Friday on the 10th. Before you are ways that we advertise the plan to receive public comments, and staff plans to come before council at the regularly scheduled May 5th meeting for adoption of the plan. This plan will include, as attachments, any applicable comments received during the public comment period. Here, just some background on the overall reporting process required by HUD. The annual action plan builds off of the 5-year consolidated plan, of which the city is in its 5th year. City Council adopted this consolidated plan in June of 2022, and it includes a needs assessment, a housing market analysis, and established goals for a 5-year period. The topic tonight is the annual action plan, and following the end of this fiscal year, staff will be before you to present the CAPER, or the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, which reports on the city's accomplishments and progress on long-term and annual goals. These 3 plans are all informed by other city plans, including the Create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan, the Fair Housing Assessment, and the Strategic Plan. Staff look forward to an exciting year ahead of stakeholder engagement for the development of the next 5-year consolidated plan. Here are the strategic goals of the consolidated plan. And shown here are the funds allocated at the local level over the past couple of years and your general fund appropriations. From fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 2027, CDBG has decreased at about 6%, and home about 1%. This has resulted in a decrease of over $57,000 in federal funding over the period that you see before you. This decrease is due to federal funding budgets and allocations and not a result of the city's performance. HUD would let us know. Please know that HUD released the figures for CDBG and home for fiscal year 27 just yesterday. and an update to all amounts contained in the draft annual action plan, including general funds and subsequent funding breakdowns, will be required. This will be reflected in the document presented to you all at the May 5th meeting. It is important to note that staff in the Affordable Housing Division and the satellite finance group that helps to support the division's programs are paid with a portion of federal funds from the dedicated federal funds and funds from the dedicated Affordable Housing Fund. There is an administrative cap or a maximum percentage on both CDBG and home funds that can be used towards administrative costs. And as federal allocations reduce, so too do those amounts. In fiscal year 27, the administrative percentages from federal dollars will cause a decrease of nearly $7,000. This difference will be supported by the city's Affordable Housing Fund. The funding in the previous slide helps to support the goals of the annual action plan before you. These goals are prescribed by the 5-year consolidated plan. An important consideration each year is the surveys gathered during the draft period for this plan. Ahead, I will share some of the top responses to program-related questions and briefly describe how they support the program-related decisions. This also provides an opportunity to share some of the programs administered by the Affordable Housing Division staff. So the first question asks participants to select their top public investments of those listed. The top 2 answers, as you can see, were selected over 160 times. There actually is a mistake on this slide. It should be 7 instead of 6, my apologies. So the ones that were selected were to provide home buying assistance and support emergency shelters. This supports the city's HOP, or Home Ownership Pool program, and the desire for the city to support locations providing services for those who are unhoused. This question looked for the top most important types of public services. And the top 2 selections were job training / apprenticeships and youth services. And these 2, and really all those that are listed, we have supported through what is traditionally known as the Human Services Grant, where the city has supported nonprofit agencies in the community. You all are very aware that this grant is morphing into something that is truly transformative, and we are calling that the Community Investment Program. For affordable housing issues, the top 2 are more housing options for households of 60 to 80% area median income, which we have talked about a lot tonight, or AMI. And more broadly, housing for those households at 80% area median income or lower. These responses, again, support the HOP program and the city's owner-occupied rehabilitation program, which helps to maintain some of the affordable housing stock in the city. With homeless services, homelessness support and prevention services, and permanent supportive housing were the top 2 responses. Again, further supporting the desires of the city to partner with a homeless service provider. As for permanent supportive housing, this very council supported CQ the Sparrow through land and funding for a 32-unit permanent supportive housing development that will provide wraparound services for 32 chronically homeless adults. These types of projects make a difference in our community and, as you can see, align with the public's desires. Before you, just a table that breaks down some of the proposed spending from different funding sources. The figures shown are carryover from previous years combined with anticipated allocations. The proposed activities align with survey results focusing on increasing and maintaining home ownership, expanding housing options for households of 80% AMI or lower, broadening homelessness services, and supporting community partners. As mentioned, the draft annual action plan is out for public comment until the 10th of this month, this Friday. This is just a public hearing and no action is required at this time, and a resolution will be brought before council at the May 5th meeting. And I just wanted to mention that the Affordable Housing Division wants to thank you for your significant support for affordable housing initiatives and supporting our partners in the community. With new leadership and concerted efforts, our team is truly looking forward to the positive impacts that we can make together for this community. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions, staff? Okay.
Push my button.
Yes.
Thank you, Gilbert, for the report and for all the work that staff has done on bringing this together. I know it's a lot of work. Can you go back one slide, just because I think it was, yeah, that's the one. I just was trying to take it all in, so I don't have any questions or comments. I just wanted to have a little more time with the spreadsheet. So
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure you'll email this to us, the presentation.
Yes, ma'am, I can certainly do that.
And there's in the full report, there's like lists of different nonprofits that are recommended and things like that, right? Is that part of that?
There's going to be a breakdown of the spend.
Okay. And then the city's programs and where that goes.
Yes, ma'am.
So, great. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
This time, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for anybody in the public wishes to speak on item PH3. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, have you had any comments to read into the record?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. Are there any further questions from council? Okay. I will now close the public hearing, and this was a public hearing only, so no action was taken at this time, so we'll move on to our next item of business, which is our ordinances. Item 01 is an ordinance reappropriating $1.7 million in the Building Improvement Capital Projects Fund to create a $1.25 million reserve for leased facilities maintenance and improvements, and to pay $450,000 in broker commissions. At this time, I'd like to recognize City Manager Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Courtney Salgado, our property acquisition specialist.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. I'm pleased to be here tonight to present the first item from the newly organized Property Management Division within the Asset and Property Management Department with the city. I'm here to present an ordinance that reappropriates $1.7 million within the Building Improvements Capital Project Funds to better align with funds within the city's current needs and priorities. As you may recall, in August of 2024, City Council approved $1.7 million for improvements to two city-owned properties, the building at 115 North 3rd Street and the deck at 114 North 2nd Street. Those improvements were tied to a proposed lease agreement with the United States General Service Administration, or the GSA. Since that time, the city is not moving forward with the GSA lease due to rising costs and uncertainty about total project expenses. As a result, those funds are no longer needed for the original purpose and are now available to be reassigned. This ordinance proposes a strategic reallocation of those funds in two parts. First, $1.25 million will remain within the Building Improvements Capital Project Fund and be used to reestablish a dedicated reserve for maintenance and improvements to leased properties and city facilities. This will allow us to proactively address ongoing future needs across city properties, including public safety and security needs. Second, the remaining $450 will be transferred to the general fund to cover broker commissions associated with executed leases. This is consistent with the city's contractual obligations with Cape Fear Commercial, including some outstanding obligations that are due now. This action does not appropriate any new funds. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Thank you. What are the wishes of council in respect to the ordinance? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Lau. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Spears, second by Councilmember Joyner. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to item 02, which is an ordinance making appropriations of $212,285 in insurance reimbursement funds to the Parks and Recreation Capital Projects Fund for the nCino Sports Complex project. Again, I'd like to recognize the city manager, Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Senior Project Manager Kim Gordon.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The purpose of this ordinance is to appropriate insurance reimbursement funding that was recently issued back into the project budget. For background, the nCino Soccer Park opened in fall of 2024. In January 2025, The region experienced an unseasonably cold weather event. This caused significant damage to the toilet facility. Plumbing lines in the walls froze, plumbing fixtures froze, floor drains froze, and the floor flooded. We used project funds to make the repairs in time to reopen the facility for the Seaside Classic soccer tournament in May 2025. The reimbursement funding will go towards completing environmental permitting, replacing casework that we lost in the weather event but did not have time or funding to replace, and completing other small projects at the site. This time I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So there was no heater in there, or the pipes weren't insulated to the point where we would have this kind of damage?
We believe that we lost power for some time, and we had, I think it was like 17 degrees for quite a long period of time.
And that's what you think happened out there? That's the theory?
That's part of, yes.
So, Becky, in regards to protocol with this, I mean, that's a pretty significant break there. What are we going to do in the future, since we don't know if there's power or not out there, if it fails? Do we have any mechanism in place, or we just take our chances?
Yes, after the event, Mayor, we actually developed an inclement weather plan with the tenant. We developed a checklist that we worked with the design team to come up with these items, to go room by room, which includes shutting down the water supply to the building, draining the plumbing lines, making sure the windows were shut, a number of items, room by room. And I believe this was made to be part of their lease agreement.
Okay. Good. That's great. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. What are the wishes of council in respect to the ordinance? Motion to approve by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Clinton Quintana. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye, and passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Lau, second by Councilmember Andrews. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item
Thank
of
you.
business. Thank you. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item 03A, which is an ordinance making a supplemental appropriation of $131,078 from the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority to the Capital Improvement Projects Fund for the Front Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project. And then there's a accompanying resolution of item 03B, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority in an amount not to exceed $131,078 for the Front Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Again, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by project manager Kyle Burden.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. Before you tonight is a resolution that authorizes the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority for the Front Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project. The construction contract for this project was authorized by City Council on February 17, 2026, and was awarded to Sappho Contractors of Wilmington, North Carolina. Part of this project is the temporary and permanent support of a 10-inch diameter water line, as seen in the picture on your screen. This water line is owned and operated by CFPUA. Following discussions with CFPUA, this water line cannot be shut down and must remain in place and active throughout construction. Per the agreement, CFPUA will reimburse the city for all costs associated with the water line work at the completion of the project. The actual bid price of the associated waterline work is $131,077.65, which includes a 10% contingency. In addition to tonight's resolution, there's an accompanying ordinance that will appropriate, with approval from council, $131,078 to the Streets and Sidewalks Capital Projects Fund. Passage of both this ordinance and resolution is recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, staff? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What are the wishes of council in respect to the ordinance? That will take two votes. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Clinton Quintana. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Clinton Quintana, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. Now let's go to the resolution. I've already read that into the record. What are the wishes of council in respect to the resolution? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our resolutions. Item R1 is a resolution to amend City Policy 212, paid leave. Again, I'd like to recognize the City Manager, Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Assistant City Attorney Sean Evans.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. This will be brief. Our current leave policy for volunteer leave allows city staff the ability to take off 8 hours per fiscal year that can be used for school events if you have kids, or to volunteer at any nonprofit in the community, in the city, or in the community where staff members live. What's being proposed is expanding that slightly to allow an additional 8 hours of leave for staff to volunteer in city-sponsored community service events. This time, as proposed, could be used during working hours, in which case that leave would be applied. It could also be used by staff for events that are occurring after working hours or on the weekends, and staff at the recommendation of the city manager could be awarded comp time off equivalent with the time that they volunteered. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about that recommendation.
Do you have any questions in respect? Questions, comments? Okay.
Thank
What are
you.
the wishes of council in respect to the resolution?
Sorry, I was
Oh, I'm
slow
sorry,
on
Ms.
the-
Lau? Ms.
me.
Lau, go ahead.
Thanks for putting this together. As a former nonprofit director, it really makes a big difference when companies support their employees volunteering. So I would just have a quick question. It's probably in the weeds a little bit.
No problem.
Are there any restrictions, like it has to be a group thing that the department does, or the city sponsors, or is it just anybody, you take their word for it that, hey, I did this, or I'm going to go do this? How does that?
So
They
the
do it
fir-
on their own or as a team, I guess is my.
The first 8 hours can be used at any nonprofit in the city of an employee's choice. The 8 hours that are proposed to be added on are for city-sponsored events.
Okay.
Such as ones that's happened later this spring. It's a collaboration with the Special Olympics and the Chamber of Commerce, and a lot of work at parks and streets and things of that nature.
Okay,
But
so it's more of a team thing.
city-sponsored.
That's neat. Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. With the wish of council in respect to the resolution, we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Santaguida, second by Councilmember Clinton Quintana. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. This concludes our regular agenda. Are there any items to be brought forward by our city attorney?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, we do have a closed session when you're ready for that.
Okay, very good. Our city manager,
No items.
Madam Clerk.
No, sir.
Okay, Ms. Santaguida.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we've had a long meeting this evening, but I do want to take a moment to let folks know in our community know about an event coming up this month on April 25th that honors the life of a young person lost in our community a couple years ago. Nicholas Sorensen was a beloved son of 2 Cape Fear Community College instructors, as well as an engineering student at CFCC. He died in a motorcycle accident in 2024, leaving behind his family and unfinished plans to earn a degree in aerospace engineering and enhance our understanding of the universe. To honor Nicky's memory and his unfinished plans, his family is working to create the Nicholas Sorensen Endowed Scholarship at CFCC. To support the establishment of the scholarship, they're hosting a volleyball tournament on Saturday, April 25th at Captain Bill's. You can find more information about the tournament on the Captain Bill's website, and I'll share details on my social media. If you need another woman on your team, I'm very tall, good at volleyball. Finally, I just want to say that there are too many families in our area that are mourning the loss of their loved ones because of traffic accidents. So I hope we are, also all see this as a reminder to drive safely and drive soberly and cherish the moments we have with the folks we love. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Councilmember Andrews?
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate the Making Waves Foundation, of which I am the chair, and Ms. Everhart is one of the members, for getting a grant from the endowment for $15,000 that we're going to be able to use to provide bus passes to organizations that serve underserved populations. So I'm very excited about that, and to also mention that we're still looking for a couple more board members. So if that's something that you're interested in working on, there is an application on the Wave Transit website.
Very good. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, sir. Just want to acknowledge the passing of two great people within our community. Within the past week, I was honored to attend their going home ceremonies, and that would happen to be Mr. Bernard Robinson, who was really influential within the New Hanover County Democratic Party and within the community. Huge loss for the community. And also Harry Johnson, an unsung hero. Really just, I was surprised by both passings, but Mr. Johnson is just, you know, call him Duck, but just a great guy. Was a great guy, both great guys, and they will truly be lost within the community of Wilmington, just serving politically, and Mr. Johnson helped a lot with the homeless population, and just a great guy. And I want to say this, I received a phone call yesterday about some of the incidents that have taken place in the past month or so, and I've said this before about politeness. You know, young lady called me yesterday. She said that she was one of my constituents, and she just went on and on and on about how she needed answers, and she didn't. I asked her what answers, and she just told me that I needed to do my job, and she's right, but I would need to know the answers the questions that she needs answers to, and I would have to have the answers myself to provide them to her. But I think, again, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, we've learned this way of interacting with elected officials and people of authority. We learn it from TV shows, or I don't know where we get it from, but it's not kind. You know, everybody, we're all humans. We all deserve respect. And, you know, whether you agree or not, I answered the phone, so you could at least say hello, and, you know, I like to express my concerns about something with you. But I just think that, you know, that mannerism or that attitude towards everybody that is in a role of authority or an elected official, or you feel like we're all shiesty individuals or whatever, is just, it's not good. It's not cool. I'll say that. It's not positive. It doesn't create a environment for positive banter or solutions to take place within our community. So I would just say, be mindful of all people when you have an issue. We understand that things are going on in the community, and I feel like there's a consensus that if any of the 7 of us have information, we will most certainly disseminate it to the public. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Clinton Quintana?
I will simply say, last week, I sent out a message to the public to stop the violence. Unfortunately, that message was taken out of context, definitely on social media, and you know who you are, and thank you for that. But I will still say the same message tonight. I'm asking for everyone here and anyone out there listening to take it back to your community to please stop the violence. It didn't stop last week. We had more violence. This is not about because there are events coming up. We have events all the time in this city. But the violence has gotten worse. And just for the record, I know that we get, several of us, especially Kevin and myself, get questions about, hey, what's going on with this investigation and so forth. We don't have the information, you all. If it's an investigation, they're not giving it to us. That defeats the purpose of it being an investigation. So I just want to put that out there. I'm still saying the same thing tonight. It's not with a little bit of attitude. It's with a lot of attitude. Please, take this back to the community. Stop the violence. Thank you.
Councilmember Lau?
No, sir.
Councilmember Joyner?
No, thank you. Pardon me.
Okay. Before we go into closed session, I do want to share, I had an opportunity to go with the American Flood Coalition with several mayors from the eastern part of the state to the western part of the state. They helped us during Hurricane Florence. A lot of the 911 centers that were down during the hurricane were rerouted through New Hanover County and other communities here. Our swift water rescue team from New Hanover County Fire, as well as Wilmington Fire Department, where they're rescuing people during in the aftermath of that storm. And they just wanted to share with us how they felt about our communities in the east, helping those communities in the west. And they have made a remarkable comeback. There's a lot of recovery left to do, but for the most part, they are open for business. And one of the things that they did share with me to tell everybody here was to make sure and to tell them that they are still open for business because the majority of their economy is based on tourism. So just please tell your friends and neighbors, if you're thinking about visiting the mountains in the summer or the fall, please do so because it is open. It's a beautiful area. They've cleaned up a lot of the effects of the hurricane, but they're in the recovery efforts. And just like we were down here with Florence, you know, they having to go through the process with FEMA and the state and all that, but they're going to get there, and they've done a remarkable job. But what I was glad to see was the camaraderie and the support that this community and other communities throughout the state, and even the country, that have given those folks in the western part of the state, which now I think the total is about $64 billion in damage, being the costliest storm in North Carolina history. And it's not a matter if it's going to happen, when it will happen here in Wilmington. Again, we will be hit with a hurricane at some point in time, hopefully not now, not this year or next, but it does happen from time to time. Mother Nature is Mother Nature, and she's going to do what she's going to do. But when those times happen, that's when you see the best in humanity. That's when you see people coming together. And it's not about political parties or tribes. It's not about neighborhood. It's about people helping each other. And I saw that firsthand. And we should be proud of what we were able to help them with. And when we're in need, they have helped us. So I just want to make certain that everybody understands the sensitivity and how important it is for us to help our neighbors in the western part of the state. So with that, I'm going to ask that we go into a closed session pursuant to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-3, 18.11 A and 3, and A and 9, in order for the City Council to, one, consult the city attorney regarding the matter of the City of Wilmington versus Gamma Zeta Foundation Incorporated, case number 24-CVS002493-640, and number 2, instructs staff regarding the city's position regarding public safety. The closed session will be held in the Rivenbark Room behind council chambers. Only city council members and outside counsel for the city will be allowed into the retiring room for this closed session. At the end of the closed session, the council will reopen its public session and adjourn at that time in this location. So with that, we will now go, I'm going to take the vote. So we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Clinton Quintana. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed unanimously. We will now go into closed session.